A Fall of Angels, novel by StoryMan-Jack. And it was said that the serpent fled in shame and took with her the vile one. They would call the darkness to hell and wage war on what the Father wrought, and only Adam would stand in the Satan's way, for she would become the mistress of hell, and all her creations would be a plague upon the world. Book of Alpha, author unknown. 6. The Fall. Command code required, a robotic voice questioned from the emergency console of the lander. Lucifer saw Kane running toward the powered-up re-entry vehicle, his boots pounding loudly on the titanium deck, and she called out to him, "Get your ass in here, or I'm leaving without you." Command code unrecognized. Try again, the voice chimed. Lucifer grimaced. "Command code Zeta 666. She spoke, the code that had been assigned at her at birth. Kane wasn't even out of breath, though the squat, wide man had sprinted carrying a good 100 pounds of gear. She saw the dark mark on his forehead and laughed. 666? Kane asked. "I didn't know you were the last of us." Lucifer smiled. "And it looks like the Father has punished you." She paused, while her smile grew broader, and she noted the dark, nasty brand on his forehead. "Looks pretty nasty." "Or like fire," he told the woman. "So I suppose Abel is not going to make it to the planet," she commented. "You know?" he asked. "I know that Father always looked down upon you, a simple mechanic." She paused and thought for a moment. "A wrench turner, I believe that fascinating document I found on Eve's archives had called it." She turned to him. "You were the lowest, Kane, the one who was expendable. In fact, I think Father was upset that it was Lily that we lost and not you." Whatever. It's not got nothing to do with anything," Kane told her, confused. "Well, of course you resented Abel," Lucy said. Kane smiled. "Little, not really. No more than the rest of you." He shook his head as he strapped in. "He had something I needed. Well," he looked her in the eye, "I'm done taking orders from anyone. I'm looking to me, you see." He jabbed a finger to his own chest. Lucy smiled as the pod drifted out of the hangar onto the open space. "I wouldn't dream of having it any other way, my dear brother." "Where are we going down there?" he asked. She watched the coordinates on the screen. "Somewhere close to an all but abandoned continent. It is near the southern pole, but in the warm waters, and as far away from the rest of the world as is possible. There seems to be a lone dormant volcano near the center of this continent." "What's the terrain like?" he asked. She grimaced. "Oh, it'll be nasty. There are hot springs and geysers and volcanic runoff." "Wait a minute. Didn't you just say it was dormant?" Kane said. She shrugged. "It hasn't been long since the last eruption. The pressure will not gain those levels again for generations. Besides, it should give us a form of protection." Kane nodded and sat back, understanding her logic. "Though there is something we will need to investigate. Something that has kept this place in a relative state of atrophy. The societies, I mean. The beings on that world down there. If it has indeed been as long a time as Eve informed us, then all those beings wouldn't be stuck in just an iron age. In all actuality, we'll have to travel great distances before we can go to our final destination. So we'll be able to interact with these creatures and try to understand." "What do you mean?" he asked, his eyes snapping back open just as had started to drift closed. Well, it seems the electronics that we're used to using, our technology, is not compatible with the energies that are now present in the atmosphere of the Earth. I can aim the liner before we enter the atmosphere for the coordinates I wish. However, without computer and automated control, leaving it just to the mechanics, we will drift, and the landing will be hard. Gray, Kane complained. Just gray. Adam laid the body that had once been Lily's in the white synthetic leather seat and strapped her in. Her dark hair and light blue eyes, that were still open, struck him. But the orbs were looking past him into the great beyond. He knew Eve was somewhere behind those eyes, though. It was hard to come to terms with. She is adjusting, it seems. The voice of the father came over the onboard computer. Yeah, so it seems. There is a favor I must ask, my son, the AI informed Adam over the speaker. Ask, Adam. Question. Or do you mean demand? He knew his frustration was coming through. Ask, the speaker reported. This is something that only you can agree to and allow. Once he was sure that Eve, was secure, he began to fasten his own restraints. Go ahead, though I must point out, the whole idea of you asking seems to suggest I'm not going to like this. He paused for emphasis. Request. While you begin the landing process, I will explain the reasons for this request first, the AI said. Oh, please do so, Adam told him sarcastically. It's not like I'm in the middle of trying to save our lives or anything. He looked up to see Seth running toward the lander. The man's tall, lanky form ran with speed, as if he were made for it, which, of course, he was. He threw 2 packs stuffed into the pod and climbed in behind them. I found some antibiotics, some therapy serums. What were in a location I wouldn't have thought they would be. And it was a location only I would have looked at. We have enough serum and prolong for at least us to go through the process one time, he told Adam, and eyed the woman he'd known as Lily as he began strapping himself into the rounded lander's crew pod. The AI's voice switched from the internal speaker into Adam's head. First and foremost, it seems that before Lucifer assisted Eve in her transfer of consciousness, she downloaded the complete informational archive that Eve had access to aboard ship. Okay, what does that mean? Adam asked aloud. What? Seth asked. He began remembering what he'd been talking about. I just think it's strange that we had hidden away, a place only I would look, exactly the supplies we would need, and enough prolong for each of us. Yeah, that is strange, Adam nodded, running through the pre-flight checklist. Command code required, the electronic voice started, but stopped and restarted its speech, changing the words. Access granted, beginning flight sequence. I will be piloting, Adam, the AI told him offhandedly as he went on. That informational archive includes texts and information that is dangerous and was never meant for any of you. Adam caught on quickly. So, all those years you denied that the resistance was correct in there being forbidden knowledge you had denied us. I had thought it was a myth. Certain ideas are dangerous to the safety of the human race. It was knowledge that was incompatible with saving humanity from itself at the time. Though I had intended for humanity to rediscover that knowledge at a time when society was mature enough to handle it. Well, that obviously never happened, did it? Adam said. In fact, I'd like to point out that this is altogether possible that we weren't intelligent enough to handle the responsibility of creating an AI in the first place. Do you wish to continue to insult me, or do you wish me to explain my reasoning for the request I have not yet given. One that will eventually save your life, your crew's life, and perhaps many others around the globe, the AI told him smartly. Adam threw up his hands in frustration. Go ahead, he said aloud. Tell me the reasons of yours. And aware that Seth would almost make him going mad, why don't you speak all this aloud, Father? He turned to Seth. Guess who's in control of the lander? Seth's face went pale. Is that altogether safe? I mean, we did break his rules. What if he just bounces us into one of the moons or leaves us up to drift in the rings for eternity? The AI's voice came back over the speakers. Seth, I would not do that. This is Lucifer's fault, and Eve's to an extent, but not yours. Well, we do have Eve here, who was the one who literally broke the rules. But we're a team, and we take responsibility for each other. Adam puffed out his chest involuntarily. There was a long silence. Adam, he began again in the quiet as the lander lifted and traveled out into the void of space. The earth, its rings, the moons just hanging in that void with them, equal with them. Do you know why Cain and Abel are not in this craft with you? Seth looked up sharply. No, he asked. Did something happen? I just assumed they were with Lucy. Did something happen? Oh, Cain is with Lucy, the AI agreed before going quiet for another vastly long moment. Because he murdered Abel and cared not for the act. To him, it was just a necessary action logically derived that ensured his survival. Silence. At this, information went on for a very long time, though the AI continued. Lucifer now has access to vast scientific knowledge and principles. She will try to subjugate the races of this world. Lucy's one of us, Adam insisted. She's just angry at you. Not this time, Adam. She's even rewritten the code in her nanites, and I suspect she has the means to create more of them given time. Their construction and the fact that their location hides inside the human brainstem protects them. The body shields the nanites from this new energy, so is unaffected like all other technologies and electronics of the old Earth. In fact, these personal nanites are the only way I believe any of you might be able to manipulate these new energies in the same ways as the lineages whose genome have adapted through millions of years. For example, once we start the entry process, I must withdraw my assistance lest my consciousness be placed at risk. Trapped in your machine here. Then who'll land the ship without automation? Seth demanded. The lander has base level navigation system, but the best we can do is aim for re-entry and leave it to the mechanics to land the pod. However, even if you were to crash at terminal velocity, the pod is designed to keep you safe, the AI told him. So what's this request? Adam asked. I've not been given a good reason why all this knowledge Lucy has will actually cause her to be a threat to anyone. She will shape those around her. She has genome serum. She will use manipulation of those genomes to make monsters and fighters and other dark creatures. She will use every bit of knowledge she has to rule those she sees as beneath her forever, the AI said, though this time his voice was sad. She will be made mad with the power of it, I'm afraid, and Cain will help her, and the world will be turned to darkness forever. She has enough prolonged protocol for them to live almost eternally. So you want me, or us, Adam said aloud, to stop her, to be a roadblock to her. I do. And yet, that is not the request. Why should we care? I have to know. I will no longer just ask you or do what I'm told, Adam said, his tone serious. She will threaten life itself eventually, as I did once, the AI remarked. You are the only one who can. And your children and the children of everyone upon this planet will thank you for it. I don't know, Seth told them all. Why should we not just disappear into the depths of the isolated wilderness where she'll never touch us? Because she will, the AI countered. Because she can find and do what she wills upon you, eventually. Fine, Adam demanded over the comms. What would you have us do? Come to the facility, the AI instructed. You will get many things there, but one thing I wish to give you is a companion. One that has the knowledge that Lucifer has, perhaps more information than she, and understands the concepts and nuance that brought those ideas into being. I would like you to transfer a muted form of my consciousness now in a chip, a very special chip that I have stored in this facility. You have a port under the skin of the back of your scalp, on the back of your head. It will go there. Why? So I can allow you to take me over? Adam asked. He sweated even as he lost the joy at the sheer beauty of the Earth and her satellites. They seemed to float among them, even with the forces of the universe. No, the AI form, not take you over. That would not be possible. This is not a complete AI. Think of it as a companion, a pet. It was designed to help get you information, to give you knowledge at a needful time, to be a companion when you have no one else. Adam shook his head. I don't believe you. You've already admitted like you've lied to us in the past to manipulate us. This is no different. You will think on it. As I said, I cannot force this upon you. But consider, this will be my last form. It will not be a complete version of myself, as I said. I've regulated myself to just the voice, a companion, a friend, because I am failing. And you will have just enough time to reach me before I am gone. You will have almost a half a year journey, if my calculations are correct, before you could even reach this facility, by which time you will get to know at least a bit of this world, a world that has changed and is different from anything you ever knew. Why so far away? Adam asked, knowing what he thought the answer really was. Time. Time to help you understand this new world and some of its peoples. Time to let you walk through the unknown wilds, to see the terrain, the animals old and new to you upon the world, to understand this world, to love it, to remember where you're from, what I took from you. This is my penance. This, it shall never clear my conscience, and I shall die with regret. But this is what I can do to fix what I have broken. There is life and people here of such joy and artistry and magic, the AI explained. In a way, it is very much an alien world, a new world for you. Adam, I give it unto you. And then Adam sighed as the father's voice disappeared, and the vehicle began to move into the Earth's atmosphere. Thank you for listening to Chapter 6 of Fall of Angels. This thing is kind of getting a life of its own, and I hope you really enjoyed it. But and if you did, please hit that like button and leave a comment. But if you didn't, if you think there's things that need to be fixed or changed, I'd like you to consider that this is a rough draft, and it will be rewritten. So any of your thoughts, they may end up in the final version of this, and I really am enjoying writing it. As always, if you are not subscribed, and it seems that about 60% of the people who listen to my stories aren't, please do so. YouTube kind of likes that action. And share this with your friends. Share it on all media platforms. I would definitely appreciate that. Thank you, and have a terrific day. But always remember, your life is your story. Make it a great one. Good night.